said? Why don't you tell me that, bro? Yeah. Turn up, man. My headphones. Tales from a Gemini. This is my kind of, man, my buddy, my producer Wyatt knows me. Oh. I can see myself getting out of the shower like, oh, it's going to be a good night tonight. Man, I love music like this. It makes me feel so good. It's so euphoric. And I never use the word euphoric. See, I don't use words like euphoric. I'm a simple man. I use words like free and fuck and food. But this song makes me feel euphoric. Hey, guy on the bicycle. Wait for the drop, wait for the drop, wait for the drop. Hey, sweetie. Hey, anybody got any X? Let me turn it down, man. That might be a permanent song. I love that song. All right, Tales from the Gemini, it's BT. So excited, man. I got my buddy Simon Patterson's gonna be on here in about 3 minutes. I know that guy's gonna be on time because he lives in a van. So if you live in a van, you're gonna be on time. What else you gonna be doing? You know what I mean? What else you gonna be doing? And so it's gonna be great. I can't wait for this, man. As always, that's a great intro music. You know me now, Wyatt. You know what kind of music I like. I don't care what anybody says. EDM is the greatest music in the world right now for me. Because it's euphoric. It makes you feel good. It doesn't make you feel like, I'm not old, but I'm older than you. And you guys always tease me about being old. So it makes me feel like I can hang with you guys. But that little jump I was just doing, my knees are going, hey, man, what are you doing? I mean, but seriously, my knees are going, don't do that again. But that's my music, man. And I love it. I really do.
I don't know what EDM is.
Electronica music? What do you listen to? What do you listen to? What music do you listen to, Wyatt? No, don't be shy. What music do you listen to?
Like an artist or type?
What type of music do you listen to? Don't get smart.
I really don't listen to anything.
You don't?
No. I'll listen to lo-fi or Mozart when I'm working.
Mozart? Are you serious? See, that's why he's where he's at and I'm where I'm at. Seriously, guy with the backpack. That's why you're where you're at, man.
I don't listen to much music at all.
Wow, really?
Mm-mm.
We'll get into that later. It's about a minute before Simon comes in. I mean, I didn't know that. See, I'm learning new stuff about you all the time. Isn't it great how we learn about each other?
Yeah, it's great.
It really is, man.
I love it.
I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I really do. You got everything? Are we recording?
Yes, we're good to go.
Okay, I can't wait. My buddy, here we go. My buddy Simon Patterson. He writes. He's a MotoGP journalist, and I met him in the paddock. And we've always known each other. And then, like this year, I felt like we connected on a different level. I was from reading his tweets, and he's always been cool. Everybody in MotoGP paddock has always been cool to me. So that's why I'm so excited about it. And this guy is not afraid to go there, man, with the tough questions and everything. So I'm looking forward to it, to talking to him. I'm gonna hit him up right now and say we are ready. We are ready for you. And you know it's my favorite part when it comes in.
Oh yeah.
Is it gonna show?
Yeah.
You know it's my favorite part. Oh, man. Please come on because I want to see you, man. I want to see you, bro. I want to see you. That sounds so weird, doesn't it? I want to see you. There it is. Okay, there's me. There's me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm a handsome devil. That's me. And come on. Waiting for Simon. Come on, Simon. Come on, buddy.
There he is right there.
There he is? Is he coming up? There we go. Is he joining? God, this never gets old. Simon!
Hey, man.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I know you're in a van, so are you comfortable? Are you being held hostage?
I promise you, I'm completely comfortable.
You know, you're the only guy I know who could be in a van and like you don't scare small children. You know what I mean? Like you're yeah. Seriously. You're just
That's high praise. That's high praise.
I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I go, he's in a van, but for some reason, I wouldn't be like, you need to watch that guy. I go, he's harmless. You know what I mean? It's great. Man, how did the van...
I've got at least two friends that call it my serial killer van. It's a black van with tinted windows. It's not a great look, I admit.
If you were in the United States, they go, that guy is working for the FBI or he's watching me, he's with the feds. But now that you're in Europe, I don't know how they think in Europe, right? Interpol, maybe. I don't know how that goes in Europe.
Yeah, we just don't think about it.
Really?
Yeah, different cultures. Different cultures.
It's a whole different vibe over there. But you know what? You could be like a Jason Bourne type because we don't know you like that. Yeah, I mean, seriously, when I first met you at the MotoGP paddock, I was like, this guy's the nicest guy ever. You're in a van, though, and now you could be, like, taking people out, like, and we wouldn't even know about it. Like you could be
It would
like
be the perfect cover, right?
That'd be the greatest cover. Like you're covering MotoGP, but at night you have a ghost writer who does all the writing for MotoGP, and you're out and just fighting crime like just taking.
Let me
shots.
tell you my story that just fits this theory completely. I was stopped the other day in a highway services in France, doing some writing, sitting in the driver's seat of the van, laptop on my knee, writing away. All of a sudden, this cop car drives past like real slow, and I can tell that they're checking me out. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. I keep writing. A few minutes later, he comes back with another car. They pull in each side of the car. There's 4 guys hop out of each car. They've got like rifles, they've got pistols, which is pretty unusual in Europe. They surround the van. The guy comes over to the window. He's checked. He's realized that there's UK license plates on the van. So I roll down the window. We start speaking in English. He does the, who are you? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? I start explaining to him. I say, I'm a MotoGP journalist. And his friend who's standing behind him with the rifle goes, MotoGP. I'm a huge Jorge Lorenzo fan. And I'm like, well, I know Jorge really well. And they're like, go. Don't worry about us. And they got in the cars and drove off again.
How great is that? MotoGP got you out of being probably held in a jail in France, probably without bail or anything.
I still have no idea what I did wrong, but I owe Jorge a beer, so we're all good.
Sure, you say you don't know what you did wrong. Come on, Simon. That's your side of the story. They know if they had rifles in France, and they don't even do that in France, you did something wrong. Yeah, you did something wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but you probably skipped out on a meal or something. Come on, so don't give me that you're a nice guy look. That's why they had rifles.
I wish that was the case, but I had been in France about 2 hours.
And where were you coming from?
I hadn't been in France long enough to do anything wrong. From Italy. I'd come through the Alps from Turin direction, coming from Misano, heading to, where did we go? Barcelona. Next race.
Well, just get your story straight, because I've been stopped plenty of times. That's what cops do. I go, I need some backup. Need some backup. Guy in a van. He doesn't look suspicious. That's what I would do. But I'm glad you did now.
Yeah, I got away with it. We're all good. Jorge Lorenzo saved me.
Jorge, isn't he the great? You know what? I'm glad I was reading up on you, trying to get some. I was trying to get some background on you, and man, it was so difficult. That's why I say you could really be Jason Bourne, dude, because there's no background on you. I mean, you're like an anomaly. You're like, who is this guy? We don't know, but he writes. But I will say this about you. What I love is that, man, you grew up, and this is probably why I never know how I'm going to start these. That's why I call it Tales from a Gemini, because I'm a Gemini, and I'll be talking to you, and all of a sudden I'll change the subject. But that's just me. It's how my brain works, And we've always gotten along. But what really drove it home this year, and I get on with everybody in the GB paddock, and I've always, respected you, love what you write. And 2 things. I love that you go there in your questions and in your articles. I mean, you go there to where you go, wow, and you don't pull punches, and you go there. And here's what I really respected about you this year was during what was going on over here with the Black Lives Matter and then Lewis stood up, and man, I was reading your tweets, and I just loved how you kind of came to the defense. Hey, we can do better, and people were giving you crap, and I love the stance you took. And that, because I always say, and I never mean, because, there's a little bit of difference between, the United States and Europe. And things are a little bit different. And I just love the stance you took. Because I go, you know what? You don't have to really go there. I mean, I think you're Irish, right?
But we do. Yeah, I'm Irish. But we do. Because, I work in the most undiverse place on earth.
Right.
There's 2,500 of us in the MotoGP paddock. There's one black guy, Francis. I think you've already had him on.
Yes.
One guy. We've never had a black racer.
Right.
I think we've had like 7,000 racers in the history of Grand Prix racing going back 72 years. We've never had a black racer. We've barely had a female racer. We've barely had a racer from, places like India, China. So my theory, and it's like, obviously, I care about diversity, but it's also a little bit selfish because, I love watching Marc Marquez do crazy things in a motorbike.
Yes.
But maybe there's 10 other Marc Marquezes out there that have never been interested in MotoGP because the paddock isn't diverse enough to welcome them in. So let's make sure that we've got all the best people in the world, regardless of gender or sexual orientation or color, whatever. Let's just have the best.
That's beautiful. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because you know what? You say that, and I agree wholeheartedly. But at the same time, it should be that way. but it's
Of
not.
course it should.
And the thing, and like I said, that's why I love that you came to the defense, because the United States, like I wanted to have, and here's this is the where I love what you did, is that you called out a certain racer who works for a certain TV, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
and he's from the
I
United
know who you're
States.
talking about.
Yeah, and you called him racist, and I thought it was funny. Now I would love to have the guy on, because personally, I think when it comes to race, I think the only way to have a civil conversation is like this, one-on-one,
Yeah,
where there's no one screaming at each other, and you
yeah,
listen, you go back and forth. There's no a crowd going, ooh, and this and that, and they're throwing, you know what I mean? Not like it was a
yeah.
debate last night. That shit show last night, that
Exactly.
debate.
That's not the way to have a sensible
Yeah,
conversation, is it? And I've
exactly.
only seen the social media highlights, but like, yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, but I love how you called him out, and I'm laughing because I don't even go there, but I would love to have him on and get his take on that. You know what I mean? But I just don't think he's gonna
Yeah.
do that. But I would love to say, okay, hey man, why would you think this way, or your response to this, and you're not the only one to do that, but you are one of the few people that did that.
I'm the stupidest.
That did that on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I honestly, I respected you even more after that. I mean, what you do, because you stand
Thanks,
up for
man.
the human right, and it's like we're not putting anybody down. We just want to go, "Hey, man, this could be all inclusive. This could be better if everyone was involved."
Exactly. It's like I keep getting told that, there shouldn't be politics in motorbike racing. There shouldn't be politics in sport. And it's like, guys, it's not politics. Saying let's be nice to everyone is not political.
Thank
How
you.
has it become political?
Yes.
You know?
Thank you.
It's just
It's simple.
how.
It's the human condition. It's humans.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
but like I said, and okay, now where did that come from? I mean, what made you stand up? Because, and I don't begrudge anyone who doesn't, because that takes a lot. When I interviewed Francis, man, the weirdest thing was I got really emotional because I said, I don't know if I could kneel. If y'all saw you kneeling, I don't know if I could do it. And I'm so full of sometimes anger and when I see it on TV and what they did to Colin Kaepernick, how they ruined his career, and how all they did was call out, the police brutality. It wasn't about the flag, and everybody knew that.
Of course it wasn't.
But they focused on the flag. And I
Yeah.
told him, I said, I don't know if I could do that. And that just really made me realize what kind of a pussy I am. And then for you to stand up and what you did, I thought that was beautiful, man, when you didn't have to do
Thank
that.
you, mate. Yeah, I did. Because I think we all should. I get that it's easier for some people, and let's be honest, it's probably pretty easy for me to do it as a white male. It's easier than it is for a lot of people. But the only way, we're not going to change opinions by having the people who are already being oppressed being the only ones countering the oppression, right?
Right.
People need allies. They need the people who are doing the oppressing to stand up and say, no, wait a minute. And, that's all it is. It's just me sticking up for my friends, except I can do it. I've got a platform to do it. So why not?
I honestly, it sounds like nothing the way you say it, but man, that just really hits, and it makes me feel great. I mean that, man, because like I said, you
Thank
don't
you,
have
mate.
to do it, and I wouldn't begrudge you if you didn't, because I always felt like, it's a little bit different over here, and I always feel like it's our fight, and I've been there before. Like I've got a couple years on you, so I've seen, how it works out in the end. I mean, people say,
Yeah.
Colin, now he's just doing it to get attention. I go, yeah, because when's it ever worked out for us? The history
Yeah.
of our country. So for you to do that, man, I give you so much props.
The other thing is as well, it's not that long ago that we were in the same camp as you.
I was going to mention that.
There's still the stories about the signs in London whenever you were trying to rent an apartment in London in the 60s, and the sign in the window would say no blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Wow.
That's not that long ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Now,
So
okay,
it's not that long ago that we were in the same camp.
Now help me out on that, because I'll be the first person. I am ignorant on that aspect of it, because we didn't learn about what you guys went through. Being Irish.
Most people here don't. Trust me.
So
most people in the UK don't know the full story. It's long and it's complicated, but we've kind of been. Obviously, the Irish in England have been much less oppressed than people of color in America, but it's kind of been a similar structure where the Irish were kind of the cheap labor that were imported to England to build the railroads and to build the highways and et cetera, et cetera. We were who they shipped in to do all the grunt work that no one else wanted to do.
Wow. So
So
you
there
were
is
basically like the
that
slaves.
history. Yeah, I'm not going to say that because it was nowhere near that bad. Like it wasn't that bad,
Okay.
but there are similarities. There are
Wow.
similarities.
So basically, instead of going to Africa, they go, hey, let's just go to Ireland and get these guys.
Yeah, pretty much, and there is more of a relationship to the slavery movement whenever you look outside of Ireland, outside of the UK, because for a long time, the punishment for pretty much every crime in Ireland was transportation, which is when they put you in a boat and shipped you to Australia as
Wow.
slave labor. And that's
Wow.
why there's so many Irish in Australia, because they were used as slave labor over there.
My good, I love getting this. I'm getting a history lesson right now from you, and I mean it from the bottom. That's why I love this. I love learning things that I don't already know. That's beautiful. That is
Oh,
beautiful. So that's why we have that.
glad to have change.
So that's why we have kind of a similar kind of. You can understand our
Yeah,
plight.
yeah. And then growing up, so I grew up in a Catholic family in Northern Ireland during the what we called the Troubles, the whole civil insurrection, civil war, whatever you want to call it. And that all grew out of a civil rights movement that started in the 60s and was really closely linked to the American civil rights movement.
Wow.
There was a huge amount of like even people visiting each other and idea sharing and all the way through the 60s there.
That
And then it kind of led in two different directions where in Northern Ireland it all devolved into a huge amount of violence, and in America it led to the law changing a little bit and things getting better, and then eventually Northern Ireland followed suit. And but yeah, that's all related as well. So there's similarities.
My goodness, man, that is beautiful. I love that. I mean, I really do. So so you kind of know. You kind. Oh
I
my gosh, you're teaching
I
me.
missed it. I missed it because I'm of the generation that kind of came afterwards. But I'm only one generation removed from it, you know?
Well, I like to think I missed it, but it's coming back around. So
Yeah,
it's
it's starting to
basically
feel that
coming.
way a little
I
bit.
mean, I thought I
Yeah.
missed the civil rights movement, but basically we're doing the same thing. We're repeating ourselves.
You kind of, yeah, some of the voter repression stuff is looking pretty 1960s at this point, I'll be honest, just as an outsider looking in, but
Well, instead of German Shepherd dogs, they're using dogs that are like vegan dogs now. Like, we're not going to buy him because he's meat and we don't eat meat, but
a
we're just
vicious
gonna,
licking.
yeah, I'll give him a nice growl and scare him. And if not, we're going to call the police because we're not going to
Yeah.
rough. Oh, rough. So, yeah. Well, man, I think that's beautiful, like I said, and what you do. So, I just want to touch on that briefly, but the reason we're here is because of our love for the sport. And I know you grew up, and I think it's beautiful that your uncle was the manager for Joey Dunlap.
For Joey's brother, for Robert, for
Robert
the,
Dunlap, I'm
the
sorry,
second
Robert
Dunlap
Dunlap.
brother.
And
No, yes, so
for people like my producer who's 19 years old, and this guy knows nothing about motor. When I started this podcast, I started talking about motorcycles and MotoGP. He goes, "What's that?" He didn't know what it was, and I'm like, "What?" And so gradually, every week I have somebody on motorcycle, and I've showed him film clips, and now he's getting to the point. He's like, "Wow!" So Joey Dunlap for this guy, Robert Dunlap for this guy is they race on highways. Like imagine on 465 or the way down to I don't know Fort Wayne. It's a race. And they race the streets. Wyatt is what they do. They really race the streets, and that's what they do over in Ireland. And I know you were introduced. I think your fondest memory was the Northwest 200.
yeah, when I was like 4 years old, it's pretty much my first memory
Now,
of growing up around racing.
and for some people, I mean, I personally, I never could understand how people could watch motorcycle racing or have a motorcycle and not have that love like just implanted and it's not part of your life. So how did you go from that to watching it and going, okay, instead of going, okay, that's cool, I'm gonna go on to this, to going, you know what, this is it right here, this is my love and it's gonna stay where it is?
I kind of, so I from a very young age I grew up in it. I was always involved in it. I always had family involved in it, and then I always had friends involved in it. And then at school, I picked up a camera. I started taking pictures. I started getting quite into photography. And then obviously I needed something to photograph. What's better to photograph than motorbikes doing, 160 miles an hour down a little Irish country lane? So I started going racing with my cousin and his friend who was racing in the junior leagues. He started riding for a team that then hired this English guy that no one in Ireland had ever really heard of called Guy Martin, who came onto the team. So I spent like 2 summers traveling around Ireland in an RV with Guy Martin and his best mate. when I was 15 years old.
Oh my.
And then from there, it's just, I've just always had friends in it. It's always just been the thing to do because it's where everyone that I know and love are, basically. And
that was one of the greatest books I ever read. Was Guy Martin's autobiography. That was one of the greatest books I've ever read. I mean, from the opening, he's talking about how he slid out at Isle of Man at about 160 miles an hour.
Of course, it opens in the
and the bike exploded, and he's headed for like a lamppost or whatever, and he's thinking, well, whatever will be, will be. And I was hooked after that. And I wanted to ask you, being so close to things like that, to road racing, and we know the dangers of road racing. You've been there, you've seen it. How do you process that at that age and still love the sport and still realize the dangers, but how do you compartmentalize that?
It was easier for me at that age than it is now, actually.
Okay.
Because back then it was it was a part of it. I think I wasn't really old enough to know any better. It was, don't get me wrong, it was tough. I lost like 3 very close friends in this period of 4 years, whenever I was like 19, 17, 18, 19. So it's tough. But it was just like, it was part of what happened, and you just raced on, and it wasn't really an issue. And then I kind of stepped away a little bit from it to come to MotoGP. And that's the part where I've now struggled a little more, looking in as someone that isn't really in that bubble as much anymore, that's kind of looking in from the outside. I kind of struggle with some of it, some of the danger. And it's not even the danger that I struggle with now so much as I see how much things are moving forward in MotoGP to improve safety everywhere possible. And then I look back home at race series, and they're so far behind. It's like 10 years ago, they were 10 years behind MotoGP, and now they're 15 years behind MotoGP, if that makes sense.
No,
everyone else has moved forward 10 and they've only moved 5. And that's difficult to process.
The only way I try to process it is that they're doing what they want to do. And, and it's the old cliche line of, hey, they went out doing what they love doing. And no matter what you say, and they know the dangers, and that's all cliche, but in a way it's kind of true. And as sad as it is, and like I said, I'm just, I've always said I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm always going to be that way. And I think, is everything okay? Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you got arrested by the cops again. I thought they were dragging you out the van.
Nah, I'm in Andorra. There's no crime here.
I thought the French police came to get you again. After you, but no. But I think it's easy. I mean, it's easy. It's harder for me. I mean, to say that it's easier for me to say that from where I'm at. But when you're in it, though, I would think like, hey, you know what? I miss this person, but no matter what we would have said, he would have done this anyway, or they would have done it anyway, because there's women at race also.
Yeah, that is part of it. That is part of how I still reconcile it these days. A lot of the guys that I know who race road racing would have killed themselves long ago riding normal road bikes.
Right.
They would have done something equally as stupid. But they would have done it on a public road where they could have hurt someone else, where there isn't medics, where there isn't the support. And yeah, that's, it definitely helps some people to be safer doing stupid things.
Right. Okay. Now, you think road racing, especially like every year it's always the same thing. Is it time for the TT to be banned? It's time for to disband the Isle of Man TT. What do you think? What's your attitude on that?
It can never be too safe, but they've made big steps forward in making it safer. They are getting there slowly, and like you say, it's what people want to do. Why ban what people want to do?
But how do you?
They would go and do it anyway.
Yeah, how do you make that safe? I mean, safer when you're racing on a city street and seeing a guy go over the cliff.
Oh. For me, the big thing you can do at the TT is education. So it's like the circuit is unique. It's 37 miles long. There's nowhere else like that. And the largest thing they've done to make it safer in recent years is make sure that every guy who goes there can ride a lap of the track with their eyes closed. And it's that level of preparation before you even are allowed to race there. That's what's making it safer more than anything else.
Wow. Are you serious?
I've literally seen TT racers. I've saw John McGuinness, so he's like the second most successful rider of all time.
Yes.
One night with a few beers on board in an Irish bar in Hong Kong, sitting on a bar stool and racing a lap of the TT with his eyes closed, making the engine noises.
Wow, man. See, that's
And he
oh my
knows,
goodness.
like, you go, you go to the TT, and I know the track well because I've worked there as a photographer for 10 years, so I know the course pretty well for someone that's never raced it. But then you drive around it with John, and it's like, it's minuscule level of detail. Like, you'll go around a corner, and I'll know that the racing line is like, you want to be, like 2 or 3 foot from the white line in the center of the road to make the corner right. John will tell you, you need to be really careful because on the way out, there's a manhole cover that's like 2 inches by 2 inches. And if it's been a little bit wet, that'll be slippery. So you need to make sure that you're just a couple of inches to the right of it to miss it.
Wow.
And it's like, how do you know that amount of detail for 40 miles?
Oh my goodness. But that's why he's where he's at.
That's why he's there.
That's okay. Now, why those guys? Why don't they race like GP? I mean, I know they've done a little bit, and Guy Martin's done a little bit, but why don't they make that leap over to like MotoGP or even World Superbike or BSD?
I genuinely think it's a different skill set. I think that's a large part of it. It's like, we're comparing motocross to Dakar. True. It's that level of different skill set. You look at John McGuinness. He is not a small guy.
Yeah.
John is, I'm sure John is over 200 pounds. He carries quite a bit of weight, but you look at Mark Marquez, and he's like, what, 120, 130 pounds, something like that. And the difference is that John needs that weight to physically muscle the bike. You want to be able to put all that weight through the pegs to keep the front wheel in the ground over a jump, et cetera, et cetera. So it's different physically, it's different mentally. Yeah, I think that's why. We have seen it before, but not kind of as the two have got faster and faster, the people who can do both well have become slimmer.
I think Danny Webb's been able to do it though, hadn't he? Danny Webb made the jump.
Yeah, yes. And I do wonder how, because Danny is not a big guy, but he's done quite well at it.
Yeah.
So maybe the other thing is that we're not counting is that there's a lot more money in MotoGP, and the very, very best guys are all in MotoGP because that's where the money is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe anyone from MotoGP could turn up to the TT learn the course and smoke them.
You think? Do you think so? You think they could? I mean, you think they can?
I think some of them could.
Because I found
if you were to take.
Go ahead. No,
if you were to take one guy from MotoGP, if you told me pick a MotoGP rider and make him. Maverick Vinales has just rode past in his trials bike.
Are you serious?
If you could take one guy from MotoGP and make him a TT racer, it'd be Cal Crutchlow. Because he's lived in the Isle of Man. He knows the course. He's a physical rider. He's got the right mental strength for it. So, yeah, Cal could go there and win. But not everybody could do that.
Because I found it amazing that Mark Marquez said those guys are crazy. I mean, what they're doing. And I thought that was funny that he said that. Mark Marquez said that. I thought that was amazing that he said that about TT riders.
I'll tell you a funny story that just that kind of makes my point about mentality, actually. A few years ago, I was there working, and they organized like a parade lap for 4 of the top guys from World Superbikes. Mm-hmm. So they took Jonathan Ray, who lives in the Isle of Man. They took Tom Sykes, Chaz Davies, and Sylvain Gintoli. And they went out and they rode a lap at quite a high speed because they were following a guy so that they knew how fast they could go. They came back in. Jonathan was like, oh, it's really cool to ride around here because I cycle it. Chaz and Tom were like, that was amazing. I'm really glad I got to do that. Sylvain looked like he had seen Jesus. Sylvain was like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And his wife is standing behind being like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You're not allowed to come near this. And it's a mentality thing. It just, for him, it was just a religious experience, and he wanted more of it.
I love that. I can only imagine Silvan doing that.
I was so much weird, like half English, half French accent. You could just imagine him describing it.
Oh
It
my
was
God,
glorious.
that's
I wish
beautiful.
I'd been recording it.
Man, I wanted you should have yelled out the window to Maverick and tell him I said Maverick, and I was gonna get there, but might as well get to it now. It's like he is that guy right now. He's got to be the most frustrating figure in MotoGP because you have another certain rider that everybody almost agrees that he's like out there. I mean, like, and you know the rider I'm talking about. He's with, but Maverick is the case because Maverick is like, how do you describe what Maverick's going through now? Because I love, for some reason, I'm a Maverick apologist. I will go to my grave, always apologize for Maverick. And I always say the second best GP race I've ever seen in my life was in Valencia for the Moto3 title. Him, Louis Salam and Alex Rins, winner take all, and the last lap and the last turn, what he did to Alex Rins, it still gets goose pimples on my arm. I mean, honestly, that was the greatest race I've ever seen, other than Barcelona 2009. And what he did was unbelievable. And because the backstory to that was when, remember, he acted out in Japan, and he was
went home.
And they said, hey, we got lawyers, and he goes, I'll be back. And so he came back, and then he won the title. And that's when you know he was kind of a. So how would you describe Maverick?
When things are going right for him, he is unstoppable, but it takes very little to dent his confidence and make things go bad. And I think he doesn't, it's almost like sometimes he doesn't understand why things happen to him. He doesn't have the ability to like process bad decisions or process bad events. And he kind of overthinks them and doesn't have the ability to put them out of his mind. So in Misano, Pecco Bagnaia was leading the race by a mile. He crashed. He said, I think the front wheel of the bike touched someone else's torn off visor tear off, and it lost traction. You speak to every mechanic in the paddock and they will say, complete bull. There is no way that a tear off is going to affect the front traction of a bike, et cetera, et cetera. But in Pecco's head, that's what happened. So it doesn't matter that he didn't make a mistake. The bike was perfect. The track was perfect. He had a tear off. It's fine. And he just like put that in a box and moved on. Whereas Maverick overthinks things.
Really?
He doesn't have the same ability. For me anyway, this is me playing like amateur psychologist on the outside watching motorbike riders. But that's part of my job, right? I'm a journalist, so I can get away with it, stuff like that. But for me, that's kind of, that's where Maverick is. It's just, it's not a weakness because there are definitely certain times that it's a benefit to him, but it's something that he needs to learn to overcome a little bit, I think.
Because his head was right when he got the crew with him that he wanted. He got when he was getting the side ready, he got out with the old, in with the new, so to speak. And he had everybody in his corner, and he seemed happy. He seemed everything was going. And even last week at Barcelona, he was killing it in FP1, FP2, FP. And for some reason, qualifying, like, okay, what happened? But still, he was on the second row.
Yeah.
And then start comes. How do you go from starting fifth, I believe it was fifth, and he goes to 16th in the first lap? He literally moonwalked. He moonwalked back to I was like, what are you doing? It was like time. It was like a time warp. He was going this way, and everybody was going this way, and they were passing him on the front. I'm like, what are you doing?
Have you seen the little graphics that we make for the race?
Yes.
We've started making like little 8-bit animations of MotoGP races. I just watch it back and watch Maverick. It's like, because he just literally goes whoop and then spends the rest of the race going ba 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 again. And you're like, man, if you could fix your first lap, all your problems would be solved.
But here's what did it for me. It's like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with the bike. And the interview when he goes, we just couldn't pass anybody. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's like you said, Franco really didn't have a problem. Fabio was in traffic and he came up. He passed, I forget who else. I knew he had passed Rossi. And then Fabio didn't have a problem with it. Rossi didn't have a problem until he crashed. So what was your problem? I mean, that's what I want to say because I love it. I don't know why, but I've loved him ever since he had the Arrow helmet with the wolf. I go, I like this kid for some reason. This kid's going to be a monster. And I can't and everybody was saying this about Maverick. I go, you don't talk about Maverick like that. I'm like a kid who, people talk about your hero. You go, don't you talk about Maverick. And I'm like, Gary, come on, what you talking about, man? Don't talk about Maverick like that. And now I'm like, you know what? I have nothing for him. I have nothing. I can't. And he's only less than 20. I believe, but 21 points from having the lead. He could be the champion.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's almost like someday he's just going to realize, oh, that's what I've been doing wrong all these years. And then he will be champion. Just, it'll just happen. Because that's the weird world of MotoGP, right?
No, I think that's
all it takes is.
Oh, that's what I've been doing wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, and the light goes on, and he just becomes a terror. Yeah.
Do you know? I genuinely thought he had it fixed over the winter. Because we went. So he was really amused about this. I used this one day to describe him, and he called me up on it because he had read it. Was really amused. I described him this winter as how in the past he was someone that finished testing first and was pissed off about it, and this year he became someone who finished 15th and was delighted about it. It's like he kind of realized that you don't win championships in testing this winter, and he wasn't going out and trying to set fast laps anymore.
Oh, that's funny.
And I genuinely thought he had cracked it, but it kind of, yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is that I remember watching, now I when I watch press conferences, it's a little different. I remember. And you got to really, really watch it. But it was Mark Marquez. He was like, somebody, who his rivals are going to be. And I remember going, well, some guys, they're good at testing. Different. And I mean, it was like, I think that was a nod to Maverick. And looking back on, I think it was a kind of a jab because Mark, and they all know a way how to, jab without calling out the name.
They're all playing mind games with each other. Of course they are.
So that was so beautiful.
Huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, just the little bitty things they do in the press conference, what they say. When he said that, some people are good at testing when it comes to race or nowhere.
The one thing I'm missing at the minute more than anything about the press conferences is because obviously all our press conferences right now are being done via Zoom. We can't go in and, do the usual where we sit in the room and watch them, which means whenever someone's answering a question, the camera's looking at them. And the most interesting thing in the press conference a lot of the time is to watch the other guys when they're answering a question about them.
Yes.
It's seeing what they, there's some guys who will try really hard not to be listening and they'll be on their phones the whole way through, but you miss all those little things. Yeah.
Here's what I thought.
Cal Crutchlow has a habit of texting me.
Really?
I get messages yeah. If Cal's on his phone, all of a sudden my phone will vibrate and he'll be like, ask this, go on, do this.
I love it. So we ask you to answer.
That happens a lot.
Oh, that's great.
Sometimes to him, sometimes to some of the other guys if he thinks that.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's why you love Cal. That's why I love that guy. It's little things like that make you love it. I want him always to stay in GP for reasons like that. And I'll tell you another thing, which I thought was funny, was, man, when Zarco called you, Zarco goes, hey, where are you? when Zarco goes, hey, where you at? You said, in my van. And you're trying to be serious. And Zarco just starts laughing.
And then Franco's like, Morbidelli's like, oh yeah, Simon's living in his van now. He was telling me about it last week, and they have this whole conversation. Apparently, what you can't see in camera is that the Dorna staff in the room were like, shut up, go back to the press conference, They were really not happy.
That was, man, honestly, I thought that was hilarious. How Zarco just called you out. Because he was like a 3-year-old kid, like, hey, what are you doing? It's like when you walk in with your parents having sex. Hey, Daddy, what are you doing to Mommy? What are you doing to Mommy, Daddy? Are you guys playing horses?
And then a few weeks later, I went and visited him. I went and spent the day with him at home. So he has now actually been in the van. He's had the full tour.
I love it. I read that article. If I'm wrong, I think Zarco's so, in a way, he's like the enigma. In a way, I think he's misunderstood, kind of like Lorenzo was. I always thought Lorenzo was misunderstood. And I feel the same way about Zarco. I think Zarco was misunderstood. And I thought, KTM, that whole situation at KTM, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work, obviously. But that being on camera, I think it was in Le Mans when he screamed at his people. Yeah. And they caught it. And that made it look so much worse. And I think they were all talking bad about Zarco. And I was like, this guy is a good dude. It's just sometimes, that perception You know,
Yeah. What you see on screen is not the real guy.
him at after parties. He's hilarious. I've seen him
Exactly.
at the parties, and he had a jacket on, like a sport coat and shades, and he was and it was the funniest thing. He looked like a 70s detective, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And Brad Bender was laughing at him, and everybody was, and Zarko it seemed like he was just having the greatest time of his life.
Yeah. And you know the story about him and Brad in the song?
No, tell me.
So Zarko's I'm not going to say hugely musically talented, but he's quite good. He can play the piano, he can play the guitar, he likes to sing. He's a huge Beatles fan.
Really?
Huge Beatles fan.
Okay.
And when Brad Binder won the Moto3 championship, they were teammates because they were both riding for IO. Zarko was in Moto2.
That's right. Yes.
There is a version of Obla Di by the Beatles with new lyrics to celebrate Brad Binder's championship win.
No. And
that Zarko wrote and performed. And if you go back, I'll tell you what, go back to watch the press conference from Brno from this year.
Okay.
Whenever Brad won the race and Zarko was on the podium with him, someone asked him about it, and he sang the song in the press conference again.
I remember that because I was on.
Yeah. Well,
I remember.
That's what happened.
I got to go back and watch that. That's hilarious.
And that's the kind of guy he actually is. But people don't see that. You know, people don't see the. I'm not going to say he's a normal guy because I think he is definitely a bit unusual. But
in what way, though? In what way unusual? Like in what way?
It's almost like I think he struggles a little bit socially.
As in what way?
Maybe not struggles, not the right word. It's like he's very much his own person and he doesn't really give two craps what anyone else thinks of him. So he just does what he wants to do. Yeah, so he just does what he wants.
I thought the same way about Lorenzo. You know, I thought
Jorge's exactly like that.
I thought he was the same way, and I thought he was funny. The only thing about Jorge was, I mean, coming from being a stand-up is like he didn't know how to let the joke lie. And let's move on. Like he always tried to, you know, like okay, Jorge, that's enough. You know what I mean? So I always felt that, but I felt Jorge was a great dude. I really always liked him.
Yeah.
You know, he always talked to me at the parties. He always came out of his way to talk to me, and I thought he was a nice guy.
Yeah. And he's still like that. In fact, he's even more like that now that he's retired.
How great.
He's like regularly messaging me and not about racing, about like the most insane stuff. So he started like a weight loss challenge during the lockdown over here. And I ended up getting quite involved in it because I was doing loads of running at the time. And like last week, I was in Misano. I posted a picture one afternoon on my Instagram story of me eating a salad with pit lane beside me. The next day, I post a picture of my breakfast, which is like some scrambled eggs and bacon. And I get a message from Jorge being like, this one good, this one bad. Like, thanks, nutritionist.
I love that. That's beautiful, man. Did you ever sometimes have to pinch yourself to wow, this, I mean, you know, because I mean, they're your heroes, and all of a sudden now it's like they're texting you like your buddies, which you are. Does it make you go, well, I'm living a good life? Because people don't know the travel, and they think wake up sometimes and go, okay, where am I now? You know, because okay, what hotel is this? And I know that feeling, but man, but when you get stuff like that, does it make you just go, okay, yeah, this is cool?
The one that's still more than anything else, and I know it's a stereotype, but you see, whenever you get one of those like little cool moments of Valentino Rossi, that's still because he's been around for so long.
Yes.
That when I was a kid, I was a Valentino Rossi fan.
Right.
In like 2002, 2003, and then you find yourself in an airport and you're sitting in the lounge in the airport and he sits down beside you and he's just like, hey Simon, how are you today? And you're like, this is so cool. Oh, how has this happened to me?
That's great. You know? I mean, is that when you realize this is a great life?
Yeah. And there's always, I've got this theory that there are times when it can be just absolutely terrible, but there's always, every time it gets really, really bad, there's like a little pick me up.
No.
And it just makes.
Now, when does it get terrible though? Like when? Like, tell me a terrible time.
So a perfect example of this, of both sides of it. 2018. So the end of the 2018 season, I did the race in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
I had 1 week off, which I spent in Thailand, And then we did 3 races in Australia, Malaysia, Japan. When I was in Japan, I got so ill I almost ended up in hospital. I then came back from Japan. I was home for 1 weekend, and then I went to Valencia for the last round. We had like a horrible race weekend. Do you remember how wet it was? Kanonku won the race, the Moto3 race.
Yes, I was there. I was there.
Right. So we did that race weekend, then 1 day off, 3 days of testing at Valencia. Then I got a train from Valencia to Jerez, and I did 10 consecutive days of testing at Jerez from Moto E, Moto 2, Moto 3, MotoGP, British Superbikes, and World Superbikes.
Oh my God.
And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, exactly. And then on the last day of the MotoGP test, which was like 3 days before I was supposed to come home from Jerez proper and finally get some downtime, the Yamaha press officer came to find me in the media center and was like, Simon, what are you doing this weekend? And I was like, I'm going home to sleep for 48 hours. And he was like, we're inviting like 4 journalists to Valentino's ranch this weekend. Do you want to come? And I was like, yes.
Oh.
And then that's what I mean about even when it's terrible, there's that little moment and you're just like, yes, I love my job. And you forget how shit the last like 10 weeks have been because you have this like awesome weekend where you're just chilling at Rossi's place.
Did you ride?
I didn't ride because it was for the 100 kilometers race, the like end of season endurance race they do. But like there was literally like 4 journalists there. The media center was just the like big living room, sitting room area in the ranch. You're like sitting, like lunch is served in like giant plastic buckets and it's just like nice pasta, and you're sitting little in your plastic, you're passed out of the plastic button onto your paper plate, and Valentino's in the queue next to you waiting for the ladle when you're finished. And it's just like, this is like not real. This isn't real life.
Honestly, I'd have been kicked out. Because I'm annoying anyway, and they would have been like, okay, he's got to go. Seriously, you never would have heard from me again if they would have done that. First of all, they wouldn't have invited me because they know me. But yeah, I've never. They also
made the mistake the night before of putting us 4 journalists up in quite a nice hotel, not that far away from Rossi's place, and telling us to just go and have dinner in the hotel restaurant, and we spent a lot of Valentino's money on the bar tab.
Could he cover it?
Yeah, I think he's probably good for it. It's like, there's 4 of us, and it's like, guys, it's 2 a.m. and we've drank 8 bottles of wine and 2 bottles of limoncello, and we've got a race in the morning. You know what it's like in Italy when you go for a nice dinner, they just keep bringing the wine, and then there's the limoncello, and
oh my!
Good night.
That's when you go, this life is great. I'm living. This life is great that I'm living.
Exactly. And part of the reason that I've made the change I've made this year to the van was to try and get a little bit more of that, and it's worked. It's been really successful for me, which is great, because now I get to go. I don't have to do the whole airport thing, the hotel thing, the waking up in a new bed every night, and like between races, instead of going home and spending a few days at home working and getting on a flight, coming out again, I just go and hang out at a friend's house.
Oh, great, man! You're living the life, brother.
You're making
pizza.
Last night
I saw you make that.
I spent last night on the side of a mountain making pizza with John McPhee.
Can John McPhee even eat that pizza? I mean, he's got to make weight.
Yeah, he's fine. He's allowed a treat now and then. It was healthy though, right? We made healthy pizzas, so it's all good.
That pizza looks so good. Honestly, I want to jump through that screen on Instagram and eat that pizza. It looks so good.
The next time you're in the paddock, we'll do pizzas. Because the pizza oven is in the back of the van.
Oh, you say that now.
Someone gave me a pizza oven for the van, so we'll do it. We'll make it work.
Or we're going to make it work because you just invited me. And and that's why. That's how I'm in the position I am today, because somebody invited me to a MotoGP race, as you can see, in 2006. And as you can see, what happened. I mean, they invited me, and if you invite me to something, and it's done, man, it's a done deal. I will take you up on your offer.
We will make it happen.
Oh,
next time you're in Europe, we will make it happen.
I might come over next week. You never know. Hey,
that's fine. I know you're not allowed. There's rules about this now.
Hey, rules are made to be broken. Trust me. If you know I can sneak in, I can sneak in. Trust me. I'll go the African route. I'll come up. I'll come up.
An American man was arrested
I'll come to
kayaking
Morocco.
into the United Kingdom.
I'll just tell him I'm Idris Elbus. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you get away with that. No problem.
I'm the broke Idris Elbus. That's what I'll just tell him. But listen, okay, of all the interviews, you've been to Paddock since 2015. You've interviewed, like I said, Rossi, all the greats. Who's the one guy that surprised you in the interview where you left and you were like, wow, I wasn't expecting that? Well, you were kind of awed, like, wow, I really wasn't expecting that.
That's a good question. Actually, no, so I did this year, which, oh man, it seems like so long ago. Back in February at testing, I did like the first real sit-down interview with someone that Jorge did after he retired. And I kind of went into it thinking, I don't know how much he's going to be willing to say about certain things. And he just opened up and gave me like this really emotional interview about all of the hardships he'd been through over the past year with Honda and about what had led to the decision. He was far more open and honest than I ever expected, to be completely honest.
Wow.
And that was quite nice. I like there's a nice feeling about knowing that you can build enough of an emotional connection with these guys that they feel comfortable talking to you about things like that.
That's cool, man. That's great. So now you guys are texting each other what not to eat. He's like your nutritionist now. How great is that? Right? Okay. Is there a rider that you pissed off during the interview you could tell you pissed off?
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time.
You? No.
Me?
No.
Never. There's some that I know I can get away with doing it to Crutchlow because he's not, it's not so much that Cal's a good friend of mine, but Cal's wife, Lucy, is a very good friend of mine.
Yes.
So it's like, I know I can get away with pissing off Cal in interviews because Lucy will kick him back into line. I've asked Valentino a few things sometimes that he's not been, like, you can tell he's not very happy about, but he's enough of a professional to know that that's the job and you just accept it.
Like what was it?
Sometimes we have to ask. Just like I've asked him questions about the relationship with Marc Marquez, about like, should you not really just not, like you're a grown adult here. He's a grown adult. Let's just like, not act like children. Phrased slightly better, but
wow.
I think the last person I pissed off in an interview with was Paul Espargaro.
Really?
Yeah, because I kind of said, you're blaming Zarco for knocking you off at Brno, and literally everyone else in the paddock says that it was a racing incident. You shouldn't be blaming Zarco. And like, do you think it's possible that you're just blaming him because you fucked up? And that didn't get out very well.
Oh, what did he do?
He was like, I have seen the data and I am fairly sure that I was not in the wrong. Next question.
Whoa, damn! You pissed off the name for him, the handsome bastard. That's what he is. Oh my god! But
it's okay because exactly, and he's a professional, so I know that we can,
get over.
It's fine. It's fine. Literally, so I can just see in the distance, his mountain biking shop because he has a downhill mountain bike store in Andorra.
Wow.
And I was in like seeing the guys just before I came in to do this, and we've been chatting. Every time I go around there, they like sort us out, look after us because they know that we know Paul and everything. So it's cool. We've still got that like friendly professional relationship. It's all good. They know that it's sometimes our job.
Dude, I love that. We could do a whole other podcast and just the stories of GP. I'm no amount of time.
Oh, for sure.
But I just love those. You know what? I found out from you that Fabio loves French rap, and that was great because I remember that when you were working for Petronas, that little stint you had Petronas, you go, listen to French rap before he goes out.
I used to share like an office wall with him. The office walls in the truck aren't very thick,
right?
And there'd be like a very thin divider, and I was sitting on one side of it, and his little changing room was on the other. And he like karaoke sessions to French rap before the start of every session. And like before the start of every session, like it's FP2 on a Friday afternoon, and he's getting himself psyched up with.
I love that.
It makes me laugh so much.
That is, oh my God, man, we didn't even scratch the surface. Oh, we got to do this again, my brother.
For sure, man, for sure.
Oh my, I mean, I knew, but like I said, I knew it was going to be cool. I knew, like I knew you, and I knew it was going to be cool. And I came in knowing it was gonna be cool. It's even cooler. It's even cooler.
Well, that's high praise, man. That's
no,
high
it really is, man. Like, and I mean all the things I said about you and everything that you stood for, which I thought was great.
Well, thank you.
Before
man.
you got here, I did pose these questions to my fans. I said, "What question you want me to ask, Simon?" And one person said, "What do you think about the current lineup of commentators on the world feed of MotoGP?"
So the world feed commentators are very good friends of mine. I'm very, very good friends with Matt Burt. Did my job at Motorcycle News before me. Steve Day is a really good friend of mine. I think Matt is amount of knowledge Matt has in his brain is just incredible. There is no one else out there that's got the knowledge he has. Steve is an amazing color commentator. He's so passionate about it. That's his job, to be passionate. And he's an ex-racer. So he's got all that knowledge of being an ex-racer. And Simon Crafar is just the perfect pit lane reporter. There is no one, he's a 500 Grand Prix winner. He's worked as a MotoGP suspension technician. He runs a rider coaching school. He can see things from 5 seconds of someone riding past him that I couldn't see from, hours of watching them.
I feel the same way about Simon, because that was a very difficult situation he had coming in after Dylan, because Dylan Gray was so good. And it took him a while, and I remember him saying, he didn't like it at first, but now you could tell he's comfortable where he is.
It's also worth noting that Dylan was a journalist who became a pit lane reporter, whereas Simon was a racer with no journalist experience at all. He just got thrown into the deep end with a microphone and told to go do things, and it took him a long time to kind of find his flow. But now that he's found that, you talk about me asking hard questions. Nah. There is no one can ask a tough question in MotoGP like Simon Crafar.
But he has that respect, though. He has that respect.
Yeah, exactly.
That automatically, okay, this guy raced. He knows what it's about.
Exactly.
This was one from your friend that goes, in your travels this year, have you had any nicer pies than the ones you get in Australia? And tell him Debbie Inns is asking for a friend.
Oh, man. So Australian meat pies are incredible. And they do the best ones in the little cafe in Phillip Island. And I lived in Scotland for 6 years. I know what a good meat pie is. But, this is fucking COVID, right? This is the things we're missing out on. We're not missing out on amazing races at Phillip Island. We're missing out on amazing pies at Phillip Island. Beer and, terrible rounds of golf and all the crazy stuff we do when we're...
I could tell by the way you said, oh, I mean, that is a passion. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, the way you said, oh, I knew you mentally there and went, oh. And that's how I know that's a good pie.
I think it's fairly obvious I'm a guy who likes my food, right?
I was not going to say that. I posted your picture on my feed, and all the girls were like, oh, my God, who is this guy? So it's going to be me, you, pizza, and girls in that van. It's going to be
good.
It's like the 70s again. Get an 8-track player. I'll get my dad. We'll get some more 8-track.
You laugh, but there is literally, I've got a CB radio.
There you go. We'll be BJ and the Bear. And we'll go around Europe. And if you think you got pulled over by the French police now, you wait till I'm in the van.
Wait until you're with me.
Simon, thank you so much for this. I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Dude, it's been so much fun.
Dude,
it's been so much fun.
We're going to have to do this again. We're going to have to do this again. I mean, like I said, I wanted to, but I had to get because that was when even before I knew you were going to be on this podcast, I said, you know what? I've got to get this guy on to tell him how much I appreciate what he did. And just
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So thank you very much for that. I love all the articles. I was just reading one about how you have the concussion protocols in motorsport are a joke. And I read about that.
Yes.
So you're not afraid to go there. And I love what you do. And I read the race, which anybody watches the current publication he writes for. I read that. Just everything you do, I love it, partner. I can't wait to see you, man. I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, man. Thank you. As soon as you get to Europe, pizzas are on me.
Now, trust me. It's
you bring the beers and the girls, I'll bring the pizzas. We're all golden.
It's going to be... Thank you, Simon. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for watching on Tales from the Gym. And that was my buddy Simon Patterson. I can't wait for you guys to see that. Thank you so much for watching. And like I say around this time, after it's all over, Bye.